Hello and welcome everyone. Last time we discussed on element 2 part 2 statutory legislations and overview. So statutory legislations and overview. I believe that everybody was after it, and that is the reason why, because I got calls and messages that I need to add something more about it. And let us view what we did last time, and today we are going to talk of state rules as well. So let us see what we have today and what we discussed last time. So last time, uh, as you can see, last time we discussed about the Factories Act 1948. It has 120 sections covered under 11 chapters and 3 schedules as follows. So we had discussed that what does chapter 1 covers, what does chapter 2 to 11 covers, and overall I also explained in details, rather in brief, what are the contents of it, right? So today we are going to take another very peculiar and a very hot topic, and that is state rules. Let's see what is there. So when we discuss about the state rules or the state factory rules, so what are the state factory rules? The Factories Act 1948 is a central law or central act made by the central. So it is enforced by the state governments in respective states with the help of state factory rules, correct? So in exercise of the power conferred by section 112, that is 112 of the Factories Act 1948, Central Act, that is what does the Central Act says? The government of the state union territories have made state factory rules. The Factories Act section 113 also empowers central government to issue directions to the state government in regards to the execution of the provision of the act. So this is what is there. Now the procedure for making the rules, what are the procedures for making the rules? The factories rule of the respective state is contained in section 115 of the Factories Act 1948, which provides that the rule made under this act shall be published in the official gazette and shall be subject to condition of provisions and publications, the date to be specified under the clause, and clause 3 of section 23 of general clause of of Act 1987 being not less than 45 days. So what you have to do is, any state government making any rules or changes, and then they have to publish it, and that they have to do it within 45 days from the date from which the draft rule is proposed and is to be published. So every rule made under the state government, this act shall be laid as soon as it made before the state legislation as well. With a view of achieving uniformity in the enforcement of the provision of Factories Act throughout the country, the Ministry of Labour and Employment government has prepared model rules to guide the state governments who may incorporate in their respective factory rules with suitable modifications to state the local conditions. So what the state governments have to do? So there is a guide that they have prepared, just like what we have in all our standards. There are some formats, so there are some guidelines. So the guidelines have been provided to the state to ensure that the state makes the rules or modifies them or prepares them according to their within the vicinity what is there. So each state has a different condition, so accordingly they have to prepare it. So now the state factory rules of different states extends to the whole state or union territories. The factory rules of each state has got different rules under various chapters in lines of chapter 12 of the Factories Act. Title of the rule framed under the chapter of factory rules are more or less the same. So basically what happens is, overall guidelines or overall picture, like whatever this Factories Act is saying, factory rules are going to be almost the same as well. So the index is going to be the same. So many of the rules are framed under the specific sections of the Factories Act in 1948. Now let us see what I have explained here, what is visible to you is, I have just tried. I don't know whether it will be visible to you in this. If you are looking at it in mobile, I'll prefer that you see it in PC so that the explanation is also visible, because I have typed the explanation to explain and make sure that people have it. Okay, so now the important rule under the chapter are, so what we are going to discuss is, we are going to discuss silent features of the factory rules. So chapter 1 is the preliminary rule, wherein in every factory rules of every state or union territories, it is called primary. So what does this primary contains? It mainly deals with short title, extent and enforcement. That means competent person registration, grant and renewal, and supervision of licenses, etc. So this is what is covered under chapter 1. Now chapter 2 of the factory rules, it is basically inspecting staff. So it deals with appointment and powers of the inspector. Now coming to chapter 3, where we say it is health, it is related to health. So what does the health states? It gives various provisions of health of workers, like cleanliness of workplace, disposal of waste and effluents, proper lighting and drinking water, urinals, and other facility requirements. So this is what is covered under anything and everything related to the health of the worker. So how health is going to be affected of the individuals, that is what is covered under the health. Now coming to chapter 4, that deals with safety. So it deals with safety precautions under various schedules for different types of machinery used in textiles, woodworking, rubber mills, power press, paper, etc., as well as hoist, lifting, lifting machines and tackles, pressure vessels, excessive weights, eye protection, fire protection, safety committee, PPE, health and safety policy, medical examination, occupational health centers, ambulance, vans, qualifications of supervisors. Everything is there in chapter 4. Now in addition to the special provision of hazardous processes industries, like collecting, development and dismantling of information, disclosure of information and to various person and agencies, etc., in line with chapter 4A of the Factories Act. So what happens is, in factory rules under chapter 4 safety, 4A, if you remember, that we discussed in Factories Act. So similarly in factory rules also, it is the same provisions are there, wherein they have explained about the hazardous processes and the hazardous process of the industry. Now chapter 5 deals with the welfare. So it deals with first aid appliances, washing facility, canteen facilities, scratch facilities. All these informations are there. So under chapter 5, it deals with welfare. Now coming to chapter 6. So chapter 6 is what? Chapter 6 tells you about working hours of adults. So it deals with the compulsory holidays, overtime, register for adult workers. So all these things are covered under chapter 6. Now coming to chapter 7. So it is basically very simple. It is about employment of a young person. Then chapter 8 deals with annual leaves and with wages. So it deals with the mode of leave, medical certificates, etc. Now chapter 9 deals with special provision. That means it deals with various dangerous operations under different schedules. So what all are the dangerous provisions in your facility? So that are listed there. Now chapter 10 deals with the penalties and procedures. That is very simple. Naturally penalties and procedure will be there when you have to implement any rule. Correct. Now chapter 11 deals with the supplemental. So it deals with appeals, notice and returns. So now other than this, factory rules of each state government also has forms. So what are these forms? So there are different forms that regulatory authority requires from you. So a number of forms used as application for getting license, approval, renewal, certificates, registrations, examination reports, etc. All that is covered under forms. So each state has a set perfect different set of forms available with the factories where with the factories inspector, wherein all the rules and regulation, everything, all the suits and their formats are also available, that in which format you have to submit. So no need to get confused. Simply go to any factories inspectors office and you can ask for different types of forms that are listed for their renewal procedures. So immediately the factory inspector of the office can issue you the details about it. Now coming to one of the most important parameter most of the industrial practices are depending on and have a lot of confusion about. So what we have done is that we have researched it well, and now I'm going to explain you about it. So this is about gas cylinder rule 2004. So the above rule has have been framed under section 17 of the Indian Explosive Act 1984. Any gas when contained in a metal container in a compressed or liquefied state has been declared to be an explosive within the meaning of the said act and rule to regulate the manufacture, possession, transport and importation of such gases have been framed under these rules. So this is what the definition says about the gas cylinder rules. Now, what are the general exemptions? So when we talk of general exemption, nothing in these rules is applicable to any air receiver which form part of internal combustion engine or a compressing plant. So it doesn't cover that. Now the general rule says no person shall fill any cylinder with any compressed or liquefied gas, and no person shall import any cylinder so filled unless such cylinder and its valve or other fittings are constructed in accordance with the specifications laid down in Schedule 1. So what does it states? Have passed the test specified in the schedule, are having proper detailed marking on the cylinder and valve, and are provided with valves having left hand screw threads when fitted with inflammable gases. So remember all these. See, these are very important points. So what do you have to do? As per Schedule 1, it should be, the specification should be as per Schedule 1, should pass the test as per Schedule 1, should have marking of the cylinder on valves, and it should be left hand screwed. So what happens is you usually tighten the screw right. So when it comes to inflammable gases, so screw threads should be left hand screw threads. Now every cylinder shall be stamped permanently and legibly with first manufacturer's name, owner's identification mark and rotation number. Now specification to which the cylinder has been made. So there should be specifications on the cylinder as well. Name of chemical symbol of the gas for which the cylinder has been made, it should be there. Last date of hydraulic test should be there. Internal pressure required for hydraulic test should also be mentioned. If it is to be used for any liquefied gas, the tare and gross weights calculated for appropriate filling ratio should also be mentioned. No cylinder shall be filled with gas unless such cylinder has been subjected to by the filler to the hydraulic test specified in Schedule 1 within the prescribed 2 years and has passed the test. Any cylinder which does not pass the hydraulics test shall be destroyed and rendered useless. So this is very important. Every cylinder shall be carefully examined at the filling station to ensure that it complies in all respect with the requirements of these rules and shall be completely emptied before it passed for filling. So any gas cylinder, make sure that it is completely empty at the time when you are sending it for filling or when you are doing the filling operation as well. Now coming to the working of the internal pressure of the cylinder, changed with the permanent gas shall not exceed 2/3 of the test pressure. So the working or internal pressure, so what I'm saying is the working or internal pressure in any cylinder changed with a permanent gas shall not exceed 2/3 of the test pressure. You always have to remember. Then cylinders change with liquefied gas charged with liquefied gas shall not be fitted in excess of the filling ratio specified in Schedule 2. Now, what is filling ratio? So, filling ratio means weight of gas permitted for each kg of water capacity of the cylinder. So every cylinder when filled shall be painted with an appropriate identification color specified in Schedule 3. So where it is specified? It is specified in Schedule 3. Every cylinder shall be legibly marked or labeled with the name of the gas and name and address of the person by whom the cylinder was filled with the gas. So this is very important, like whosoever is the manufacturer there, that they have to specify. Now coming to the general precautions. So what are the general precautions? So cylinder with their valves and other fittings are identification, should have identification colors, and you should always maintain, in good practice, good housekeeping practice there. Then no oil or similar lubricant shall be used in any valves or any other fitting of any cylinder. You have to always make sure. So, it is not possible. You should not use any lubricant there, because the gases, you don't know how it will react with the flammable material as well. So every cylinder containing compressed gas or liquefied gas shall have its valve securely closed so as to prevent leakage. For storage of LPG, Chief Controller of Explosive, that is CCE, has to issue a separate order for storage of LPG cylinders. Now every care should be taken to handle the cylinders properly, and properly protected caps should be there, and those caps should be approved by CCE. So that is Chief Controller of Explosive, CCE. Wherever you find somewhere abbreviations come CCE, so don't get confused. It is called Chief Controller of Explosive. So CCE is Chief Controller of Explosive. Then coming to the transport. So cylinders shall be transported as not to project beyond the sides of the vehicle, and it should never be projecting outside. Adequate precautions should be taken to prevent the cylinder from falling in the vehicle, and you should never be roughly used. You should never throw any flammable gas cylinder. Never throw it. Never dump it. Don't do it. So sometimes people are very much excited and they simply throw it. That is a very wrong practice. Never do it, because you don't know how a pressurized gas will react to when it is stuck on floor. So never do it. Then no lifting magnet should be used for unloading the cylinder, because when it comes to flammable gases, you should never use magnet. So that is one more condition there. Correct. Now notice of accident. So when it comes to notice of accident, whenever there occurs in about the connection where cylinders are involved, so what you have to do is, if some human life or a serious injury to a person or property has occurred, so the occupier to the place, the person in charge of the vehicle in case of may shall be issued notice, and you have to inform the nearest police station and the CCE as well. Now coming to the licensing part. So no license is required for filling and possession of cylinders if the filling is in small quantity for experiment, test or breathing purpose. That is 100 kg LPG, that means 7 cylinders in one time stored. Just remember this, 100 kg LPG, 7 cylinders at one time stored. Correct. Other flammable but non-toxic total 125 kg gases or 15 cylinders. For toxic gases, the total quantity should not exceed 5 cylinders at a time. Now there are different types of licenses. So we normally call it D type. So it is D is to import cylinder filled or intended to be filled. E type is to filled cylinders. F type is to store compressed gas cylinders. So the detailed fees are given in Schedule 5 of the rules. So you can go and see the fees, what is applicable. Now coming to the now we will be discussing about the static and mobile Unfired Pressure Vessel Rule 1981 as amended in 2000 also. So this rule is called Static and Mobile Pressure Vehicle Vessels Rule. So it is SMPV, and into the bracket it is U. So if it is U, that means it is unfired. So it is called Static and Mobile Pressure Vessel Rule, SMPV Rules 1981, was framed by the central government in excesses, in excess of the power conferred by Section 5 and 7 of the Indian Explosive Act 1984. The rule has 8 chapters and 69 rules. So basically, I'll be quickly taking, because this video is going too long, and I'll be just quickly telling you some silent features of it. So basically, what does the pressure vessel say? So under Rule 2T, it says any closed metal container or whatever shape intended for the storage and transportation of any compressed gas which is subjected to internal pressure and whose water capacity exceeds 1000 liters and includes their interconnection to the connected pipeline and fitting, but not includes container wherein steam and other vapor is or intended to be generated, or water or other liquid is or intended to be heated by the application of fire or products of combustion or by electric means, heat exchanger, evaporators, air receivers, steam type sterilizers, autoclaves, reactors, gasifiers, pressure pipeline equipments such as separators and strainers, and vessel containing liquid under a blanket of compressed inert gas. So this is what pressure vessel is. So rule 2T. Now, repair of pressure vessel is specified under Rule 6, which says repair additional alteration permissible only when approved by the CCE for the purpose of vessel to be completely emptied, plunged and inert, insert gas and record maintenance. So you have to do that under, purging of vessel used for flammable gases and comes under Rule 7. So that states that vessel used for flammable gases, when purged with flammable gases, adequate precautions to be taken to prevent the ignition of the flammable mixture during venting. Now prohibition of smoking and light comes under Rule 9. So smoking is not permitted, and matches, fire, all this, naturally it is not permitted. Now special precautions, again accident comes under Rule 10. That is, no person is permitted to commit any act which may cause fire or explosion. That comes under Rule 10. Now making of a pressure vessel is set guideline under Rule 16. Every vessel to bear permanently fixed metal plate visible from ground floor to show first manufacturer name and identification mark, standard code followed for construction, office stamp of the inspector, pressure design pressure in kgs per centimeter square, date of initial hydro testing and subsequent test, hydro test, pressure in kg per centimeter square, water capacity in liters, gas capacity if filled with liquid gas, and name of the chemical symbol of gas to be used in the vessel. So these are the things that are to be shown as marking on the pressure vessel, which comes under Rule 16. So if you want to refer that what are the markings to be made, so you can refer Rule 16. Now painting on the vessel. So vessels to be adequately painted externally to prevent corrosion and to have reflecting surface. So you have to make sure that it is reflecting surface. Now periodic test of the pressure vessel in service comes under Rule 19 and painting comes under Rule 17. So periodic test of pressure vessel in service comes under Rule 19, that says all vessels to be hydraulically tested by a competent person with pressure marking on the vessel with the frequency not exceeding 5 years, and after the date of the first test the vessel containing corrosion and toxic gases to be tested at an interval of 2 years. So if your vessel is containing corrosive and toxic gases, it has to be tested every 2 years, or a normal frequency is at 5 years. So ideally you are ideally supposed to test it every 2 years, or depending on the visit of the inspector if required, then and if you see that there is some issues, or some errors are happening, so CCE may permit pneumatic testing along with non-destructive test instead of hydro test. So CP to issue test certificate in prescribed form. Now, precaution to be observed while carrying the hydro test comes under Rule 20 that you can refer. Location of pressure vessel comes under Rule 22, which states that every pressure vessel to be located with the nearest building in line of the adjoining property or vessel as per the safety distance specified in Table 1 and Table 2 of the flammable and corrosive gases. So you can refer those tables. The table is very simple, like not above 2000 liters. The minimum distance from the building, or adjoining property is 5 meters, and minimum distance between the vessel is 1 meter. So this is the basic. So above 2000 to 10,000, it is 10 meters minimum distance from the building, and 1 meter from the 1 meter between two vessels. So, and if it is above 10,000 to 20,000 liters, it is 15 meters from building and 1.5 meters between two vessels. So like that, the table is given. So there is table 1, and this I am talking about the corrosive and toxic or flammable gases. For non-toxic, it is 3 meters from building and 1 meter in between vessels. For about 2000 to 10,000, it is 5 meters from the building and 1 meter between. So this is there. So you can refer these two tables, which are location of vessel Rule 22. You can refer, and you can refer two tables. There are table number 1 and 2, which gives minimum safety distance for corrosive and toxic permanent flammable gases and minimum safety distance from non-toxic gases. So it is very clearly specified. There should be fencing. So fencing specification are given in rule number 24. Earthing specification is given in rule number 26. So vessels of flammable liquid or gases to be specifically electrically earthed, and pipeline covering flammable conveying flammable liquid should be electrically continuity and earth specifically. Then non-smoking comes under rule 27. Fire protection comes under rule 28. So for vessel used for storage of flammable gas to be protected from all type of hazards by providing adequate water and fire protection system like hydrant and hose and monitor, and minimum 2 DCP 9 kg each to be provided. So this is under rule 28 for fire protection. So it is like minimum for any flammable vessel 2 DCP 9 kg cylinders are required. Now electrical apparatus and installation comes under rule 31. So no electric wire to pass over storage vessel containing liquefied or gas. Electric wire installed within the safety zone or any storage vessel for flammable compressed gas should be approved insulated cable. Electrical fitting, meter, DB, plug socket in pump room of flammable compressed gas should be flame proof construction complying with IS 2148 1968, and frame to be effectively earthed. Now electrical fixing of lamp to be enclosed in glass frame, and flame proof fitting compromising with IS 2206 part 1 and 2962 to be there, and all approved headlamps to be approved by CCE. Now certificate of safety, that is under rule 33. So before any vessel is used for storage of any compressed gas or doing any addition alteration in the installation of foundation, a certificate of safety is in a performa prescribed by the CCE and signed by the CP is to be furnished to the licensee authority. Now, fire protection is also given under Rule 41. So, two serviceable fire extinguisher of suitable size and type visible from the outside the cap are to be provided on each vehicle, one on each side. A person attending the vehicle conveying flammable gases should not smoke or use match lighter, no artificial light, cable, or cause anything that can cause fire or explosion should be taken on the vehicle while carrying the flammable gas. Now, certificate of safety is given under Rule 43. Now, before any vessel is used for transportation of any compressed gas, a certificate of safety is prescribed in performa with effect from the vehicle meets the rules in rules in this chapter, that is chapter 4, and signed by the CP, is to be furnished to the licensing authority. Now, installation maintenance of vehicle as per Rule 44, it should be there. So you can refer that what all the rules, what it says. It basically says the license for vehicle should be ensured that it is all time and roadworthy and filled with transported with the discharge of load safety. Now, notice of accident is to be issued under Rule 66. So that is to be provided. So what is CCE? I'll again specify. It is Chief Controller of Explosive. CIF is Chief Inspector of Factories, and CP means competent person. So these are basically the short forms what we have used in the video. So I hope you have liked this video by now. And for other information, you can visit dgfastly.in, nic.in, so.gov.in, and you can have all the content from these two official websites. I hope you have liked the content, and keep liking and sharing, and do not forget to subscribe our channel. We'll keep on posting more such videos, and I hope we are able to help as much. Thank you so much, friend. We'll meet again.